Are you interested in simple steps to heal the root cause of your health issues? Whether it's anxiety, depression, insomnia, weight gain, hormonal issues, digestive issues, or any difficult to treat condition? Welcome to Heal Your Body, Cure Your Mind, where you'll get most of the answers for your health concerns and benefit from the latest techniques in naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and psychotherapy to heal your mind and body together. As a naturopathic doctor, psychotherapist, and best-selling author, I've also created a free ebook and online course for you at drameet.com. That's drameet.com, where you'll get tons of tips to heal your mind, your body, your emotions, your gut, your liver, inflammation, and other things that go wrong in your body. Without further ado, with lots of love to your beautiful heart, here's your podcast for this week.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Parasites Summit, the missing link to chronic illness. Today, I'm here with Ameet Agarwal. He is a naturopath and specializes in liver and so many other topics that are going to just blow your mind. We've been talking here before this, and I'm so excited to be able to interview him. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And greetings from Kenya. Hopefully we can cover how your liver affects parasite detox and how your liver affects your emotions and how everything's connected today.
I am so excited because liver and emotions are two of the things that within parasites flare so much. They need so much support when you have parasites and vice versa. If you don't support liver and emotional stress, parasites are going to be able to get into your body because your terrain is broken down. And I know that you have an online course for liver and for mental health. So can you just tell me a little bit of why you've chosen those two things to be at the top of your offerings?
So the liver is the seat of the health, in my opinion. Everyone focuses on gut health, but the missing link is often the liver. Yeah, the liver produces bile, which helps you detoxify a lot of toxins from your body. The bile actually helps improve the state of your microbiome, your gut. So a lot of people complaining about leaky gut, taking only probiotics and changing their diet, they often forget to heal their liver and get that bile flowing. With the correct type of bile flowing, then the bile acids actually kill off some bad bacteria. So you get less SIBO symptoms and things like that, and less dysbiosis. And the bile salts actually make the environment healthy, so your good bacteria grow better. So then you have less damage to the intestines, less leaky gut, and therefore less chronic inflammation. And so what I've noticed is that by healing the liver alongside with the gut, the adrenals, and other pillars of your health, patients get better much faster and they stay well for longer because they're less inundated with inflammation, toxins, hormonal imbalances, anxiety, depression, you name it. Most often from liver health, as well, of course, from emotional trauma, which we'll talk about soon as well.
I love it. The connection of liver is something that I personally work with every day because it is so important. Mm-hmm. And exactly what you said about bile, because so many people are dealing with bloating, and without bile being supported, you will absolutely have bloating. And I know we're getting into all of that as we go. Yeah. Let's tie it into one of my favorite topics, which is, why are parasites so detrimental when it comes to liver health?
Okay, so certain parasites will actually damage your liver cells. Yeah. Other parasites create a lot of what we call endotoxins, a lot of toxins in your body, whether it's in your gut, in your blood, in your spleen, you name it. And these toxins have to be processed by your liver, right? But because your liver is also exposed to these toxins, it goes through oxidative damage and other damaging side effects of the toxins. And then you have a whole cascade of symptoms, right? You start feeling toxic and you get brain fog. Your liver also controls your hormones. So if you have a lot of toxins in your liver, then you go into hormonal imbalances. So a lot of people with PMS symptoms, for example, whether it's gas, bloating, breast tenderness, cramping, clotting, first line of treatment is reduce inflammation and detoxify your liver. And you get at least 70% improvement just by that. Then I'll add in some homeopathy and emotional release, which will take you to the next level. But the foundations of health are really about healing the gut and the liver together. And then when you detoxify well enough and your liver is flowing, then your gut health improves, your immune system improves, so you're better able to fight off the parasites. Yeah, so it's a two-way street. Yeah, You need a healthy liver and a healthy gut to improve your immunity to fight off the toxins and to tolerate toxic die-off from killing off the parasites. Your liver and your gut need to be healthy so you can drain and detoxify all those toxins that are being produced.
And, the comment that I always love to make when we're talking liver is your terrain, your body's functioning for your immune system. If you aren't supported in your liver, if you are emotionally distressed, it makes your terrain, your body's ability to defend itself weakened, right? Because parasites have been around as long as man has been here. So it's not that parasites are new. It's not that all of a sudden we're getting new ones around us. They're getting into our food supplies. They've always been there.
Yeah.
It's the strain and stress on our body that has changed.
Yeah, exactly. So if your liver is toxic, you're going to have more stress on all your organs, whether it's your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your gut. And then with this stress, these body parts don't work as well. They start breaking down. Yeah. And parasites love that. Then they continue to produce more toxins and thrive more because they're safer in a weaker body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that brings us to emotional stress as well. So I specialize in healing childhood traumas and ancestral trauma using family constellations therapy. And I've often seen that people who are feeling unwell often have some sort of unresolved trauma in their life, right? Whether it's their parents divorced when they were very young, or they saw a lot of violence, or they were sexually abused, or they're carrying some sort of generational trauma from their ancestors. They're just not fully well. And then you'll see them either they'll have certain food cravings that make their bodies unhealthy, or their vitality will be very diminished because they're kind of subconsciously loyal or attached to an old trauma from childhood or towards their mother's trauma. So they're not thriving. So they're more prone to infections. That's what we see because most people do get infected, but they have a harder time fighting off the infections because they're just not vital anymore. So healing your emotions alongside with your liver really gives you an advantage when it comes to parasites and any chronic disease.
Couldn't agree more. And there are so many connections that have been around as long as time. If you look back to meridian therapy or acupuncture, they connect the liver specifically with emotions of anger.
Yeah.
And I can tell you what, in my practice, when I see people that are liver toxic, their irritability, their anger, their unhappiness in life is definitely significantly higher. Are you seeing things like that also?
Absolutely. So, with liver toxicity, one is your microbiome is affected. Yeah, the good bacteria in your gut. And a lot of your serotonin, GABA, and other neurotransmitters actually are produced in your gut, not so much in your brain. Some in the brain, yes, but a lot is produced in your gut. So with what I see is with inflammatory foods, an unhealthy gut, and liver toxicity, you get more dysbiosis, which causes an imbalance of brain chemicals. That's number one, which will lead to anxiety, depression, irritability, different symptoms. Yeah. In fact, they've shown studies where low serotonin actually contributes to more aggression. And I reckon that low serotonin is coming because of a dysbiosis coming from liver stagnation. The other thing that causes an imbalance of brain chemicals is a cortisol imbalance. And why does cortisol get imbalanced? Cortisol is produced by your adrenal glands, right? In a response to stress and inflammation. If you're chronically stressed and you've been traumatized a lot during childhood, your nervous system is in a fight or flight state all the time. So then your adrenal glands get burnt out. And when that happens, your cortisol production becomes imbalanced, leading to drops in serotonin, dopamine, GABA, as well as thyroid hormones. And then when you have too much inflammation as well, then that inflammation also pushes your adrenal glands and other cells to produce cortisol. So chronic inflammation also causes a cortisol imbalance, which then causes a brain chemical imbalance, leading to more anxiety, depression, aggression, insomnia, PMS symptoms, you name it.
So when it comes down to it, liver and emotions are going to be two of the major players in so many chronic illnesses that a lot of people hear about, whether that's chronic fatigue, which has been well known and around for a long time, can be driven by emotional distress and liver toxicity. And then, of course, leaky gut, which is something that you've mentioned and is one of the most known dysfunctions in the body that there is. And can you expand a little bit more on just how liver health drives leaky gut? Because you just went into neurotransmitters coming from the gut. We've talked a little bit about bile and leaky gut. Can you just talk a little bit more into that?
So yeah, leaky gut, basically you have stomach and intestines, and your intestines are like a nice tube, a nice lining, kept healthy by good bacteria and good food, right? And now with antibiotic use, poor diet, too many toxins, pesticides, parasites as well, these things damage the intestinal lining, right? And so it becomes more permeable. And when it's more permeable, more toxins leak into your bloodstream, and more toxins aggravate all the immune cells that are lining your gut. So you go into an inflammatory response. And if you have a toxic liver, one is from chronic inflammation and one is from just pesticides, chemicals in the air, alcohol, excessive drug use, etc., then you produce less bile and less bile acids. So number one, you're digesting your food less effectively. So you have undigested food entering your intestines. That's going to irritate your cell membranes and cause more permeability as well. Certain bile acids actually kill off bad bacteria. And so we need proper bile flow to maintain a healthy balance of good bacteria in the gut. And those good bacteria obviously need fatty acids and other nutrients to survive and thrive. And bile helps break down fat that you're eating into fatty acid droplets and other absorbable nutrients. If your bile is not flowing, that's not going to happen. So you're going to get an imbalance with your gut bacteria as well as with the nutrients that you can absorb.
So if you're having leaky gut and you're struggling to heal, maybe stop focusing as much on the gut and start focusing a bit more on the liver.
Absolutely.
Now, you've discussed also, as we've been talking, some remedies and different things that you use, and everybody always wants to know, what are you doing to support liver and leaky gut?
Okay. So I have some free videos on my website, which will walk you through the basics of how to heal the gut, the liver, and the emotions. But there's some extra remedies I want to mention here. Typically, a lot of people will use milk thistle extract, for example, or dandelion root. Why I like milk thistle is it helps stimulate bile flow, and it also helps repair the liver cells. Okay. Then I use bitter foods like bitter gourd or rocket, arugula, you call it there. All these bitter foods also stimulate bile flow. Then remember that your liver is dealing with a lot of toxins. So it's going through oxidative damage, right? So we need antioxidants to help protect your liver. This is where your vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, alpha lipoic acid come in, right? So combination of good bitter foods, some nice liver healing herbs, and then in the online course, I go more specifically into homeopathic remedies as well that you can use, which work beautifully to really go deep into your liver and create that nice flushing effect. So you've got to combine the energetics, the herbs, the nutritional supplements, as well as your foods in order to have an effective, healing and detox effect on your liver.
Now, I love homeopathy. I use some in my clinic. So can you talk a little bit more just about homeopathy, just for those who don't know anything about it at all?
Yeah. Okay. So homeopathy is also one of my favorite, developed by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who basically found out that, I'm going to really simplify it. Yeah. If you sniff an onion, really close, you get watery eyes and a runny nose. And so, which is the symptoms of an allergy, for example. What Dr. Hahnemann found was that if you give a very diluted form of a substance that causes a reaction in someone when that substance is given in toxic amounts, that diluted amount will cure the symptoms of what the toxic amount would create in a person. So if somebody sniffs an onion, gets watery eyes and a runny nose, and then is given a very diluted form of the onion, those symptoms will reduce. By diluted, I mean 1 drop is taken, mixed with, let's say 100 parts of lactose granules or some sucrose granules and just ground up. One part of that is rediluted, ground up again for 4 hours. And then there's a point where you actually take one part of that and mix it in water and alcohol mixture to redilute it. Take one drop of that mixture, redilute it in water and alcohol. And you do that multiple times so there's no molecule left of the original substance. So using the vibrational form of the remedy. So now somebody comes to me with an allergy, for example. It doesn't have to be because of they sniffed an onion, but just general symptoms of an allergy that matches the picture of an onion. I will give them homeopathic onion, for example, and voila, huge change. Yeah. For food poisoning, for example, one of the most common homeopathic remedies used for food poisoning is arsenicum album. And what's the toxic picture of arsenic is a lot of watery diarrhea and vomiting. And you give the homeopathic version, watery diarrhea and vomiting often gets better. So in the online course, I cover specific remedies for the liver that have a deeper effect in detoxifying the liver. And it just makes all the herbs and supplements using work much faster.
And I'm impressed. That is an incredible description of homeopathy. And honestly, it's a tool that I've had to learn to use, especially for those that are sensitive, because like you said, you dilute until there's the vibrational or the energetic mark of what you're trying to use, not necessarily the actual piece. So for people with allergens, this is such an incredible tool for anyone, but especially for those that are very sensitive, it's very incredible. So thank you for putting that in there, because that is something that no one else has talked about within the Parasite Summit. So I wanted to grab hold of it.
Yeah, there's actually homeopathic remedies I use for parasites as well sometimes. Like you get the homeopathic version of the parasite, and somehow it trains your body to get rid of those parasites much faster.
Yeah, I mean, homeopathy is so amazing. So within what you're doing, we've talked about you do some emotional work, and you mentioned constellation therapy. And one of the things that you've talked to me about is you work a lot with trauma and anxiety, depression, relationship issues, and you've made a combination of naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, and psychotherapy, and you tie it with the liver to help people to recover. Can you dive into that a little bit?
Wow, okay. That's the whole practice. So like we talked about, the gut and the liver, when they're unhealthy, contribute to inflammation, which messes up the brain chemicals, right? If you're super stressed as well, you breathe in a very shallow way. You won't be long, deep breathing. And when that happens, stressed people, they actually get a stagnant liver because their diaphragm is not moving up and down as much. And they're getting tight shoulders because they're breathing using their upper lungs only most of the time. Yeah. So stress contributes to liver stagnation, generally because, well, one due to cortisol imbalance, number two, also for that shallow breathing. Yeah. And now people with unresolved trauma from childhood, we call them adverse childhood experiences, or even entanglements with ancestral trauma. The nervous system is primed to respond in a stressful way based on the programming that happens earlier in childhood. So as an adult, when you're faced with a deadline, an aggressive boss, a girlfriend breaking up with you or cheating on you, all your childhood traumas come up: abandonment issues, authority issues, fight or flight, responses, feeling threatened, unsafe. All these things come up in your nervous system. So you get this hyper response. So people who have been abused or have had a lot of adverse childhood experiences are more prone to anxiety, stress, and depression as adults, right? Especially because now this chronic stress also burns out the adrenal glands, flattens them out. And then everyone knows that with adrenal fatigue, your cortisol levels go imbalanced and that messes up your brain chemicals, right? So adrenal fatigue is very connected to anxiety and depression. So how do you heal all this? One is you, first of all, find out what is causing this person's problems. And it's often a combination of childhood trauma, as well as adulthood trauma, as well as a leaky gut and an unhealthy liver. So you have to heal the mind and body together to get real results. If you're only focusing on supplements and the body and ignoring the emotional state of a person, yeah, then it's like putting a bandage on a person. But once you help them discharge the trauma and get in touch with that aggression and the ability to say no, or swear at a person, or have a boundary, or really find internal forgiveness for their own mistakes and innocence, yeah, helping your client to feel okay with their vulnerability and their innocence again, instead of defensive and armored, then everything starts flowing better in the body. The body relaxes, all your cells relax. The vagus nerve, actually, this huge nerve in the body that basically sends signals to your liver, to your heart, to your gut, that starts relaxing. And then it sends the right signals to all these organs, and then all these organs start functioning better because you've relaxed the nervous system through releasing emotional stress and trauma from childhood.
So the first question that came up in my mind as you're going through this is, are there signs or patterns that people are living that would make them think that they have a need for constellation therapy, or, you know, what you're describing here today? Because as I'm listening to you, I'm going, wow, I've got some people that definitely have that overactive, that fight or flight lifestyle, even when things are okay and normal. And it's not necessarily due to what I'm usually looking for, in that being toxicities or parasites. So are there patterns that someone could kind of check themselves for as they're listening to this?
Generally, I feel most people have entanglements at some level, yeah, with either their ancestors or their family members. You know, a small example, and we don't even know this, small example is if there's an abortion or miscarriage in the family, right, before me, and I don't acknowledge it, and I think I'm the first child, I'll often feel this sense of like not enough and I got to do more, etc. Until I find, gosh, there's a child before me and I'm actually the second child. I see it all the time in clinic. Yeah. When we acknowledge, for example, missing children in the system, or a family secret that has been, you know, not talked about, let's say a murdered uncle, or a black sheep of the family who's been sent away from the family, when we include them, we talk about them with love, with respect, and include them in the system, something calms down in the family field. And so most people, somewhere in their family lines, have had something happen, right? Whether it's a miscarriage, an abortion, abuse, being killed in the war, survivors of the Holocaust, alcoholism in the family, murder, rape, you name it, yeah? Most families have some of these episodes somewhere in the lineage. And in family constellation therapy, we often uncover these entanglements that people have with these past events. And it doesn't only have to be family constellations therapy. As children, sometimes, you know, if we're born C-section, for example, and we didn't bond with the mom, there's that gap, there's that missing blockage. So we might not even know how to receive love. And we might feel that we have to do things on our own all the time. And then we burn out because we didn't create that bond initially. It could be subtle traumas like that. Or it could be really heavy traumas where, you know, you're seeing your parents beat each other up, or you're beating yourself. Yeah. Or your mom goes off on holiday or gets busy with the younger child because she has to breastfeed that child, and suddenly you were feeling close to mom, and then suddenly you don't get the same attention, the same love. You have an experience that changes your nervous system. And all of these things will affect your health. I see it all the time. So by gently just looking at these different episodes in your life, yeah, and I have some exercises in the online course which people can do. But when you do it with, you know, a therapist who really knows how to hold the space and helps you feel that vulnerability and get in touch with things that your mind doesn't even know happened. But when you mention certain words, you go into resonance. Your body responds like, gosh, that feels true, right? But you have to make sure you do it with a therapist who's not suggestive, who's not asking to believe things that might not be true. We're checking in what resonates with your system. Because whatever resonates, and you acknowledge the resonance, that itself begins to release some of the trauma from your past.
Sounds like almost anyone could be giving you a call. So as you're going through it, my thought is, with liver and with emotional stress, have you seen maybe an example where somebody's liver is very, very congested, and then you do emotional release work and you find that the liver just starts to process through better once those emotional blockages are open?
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly because I often combine the liver herbs as well. But I've definitely seen people's bowel movements improve after they've, admitted that they were abused as a child or something. I have one patient who I was the first person he told about an abuse. And then the next day, and he was constipated for like 30 years. And the next day he had full bowel movements because he was holding in less. And how I tie that to, like, often with constipation, it's a bile flow issue, right? The bile is not flowing well to lubricate the stool. So constipation is not a deficiency of a laxative. It's a deficiency of bile flow. Yeah. Most people start taking laxatives for constipation, big mistake. I've had another client who had chronic heartburn. Yeah. And that's often due to liver stagnation combined with stomach acid imbalance. And that acid imbalance is due to liver stagnation as well. And we did the history, and he was insulted by his partner. And he didn't know how to express back. And we got him to express his rage and really speak from his truth, authenticity, without the fear of being abandoned by his family. Yeah, really getting that cathartic language going. Boom, that's the best thing that helped his stomach ulcers and stagnation. We were doing homeopathy, we were doing herb supplements, but the pain would always come back. When we did the emotional release, needed less supplements and less homeopathic remedies.
I've seen that so many times in practice, and that is why I wanted to hear you say it, because I just know that it's easy to take supplements. It's easy to take homeopathy. Now, to get the right things with the right practitioner in the right order, that's where it really starts to matter as far as those things. But the emotional side of things is missed so often. It's because it's hard. It's not fun. It's deep within. And it's always something I talk about, going root cause. Well, your root cause could definitely be parasites.
Yeah.
Your root cause could definitely be toxicities that are backing up your liver. But your root cause could also be some sort of emotional distress that is just eating away at your energy system. Because, I talk about mitochondria all the time. And if my whole body is in a state of fight or flight and using energy and wearing me out because I was abused as a child, so I'm now reacting to everything that happens to me throughout my life as a potential trauma, I'm going to be wore out. I'm not going to have the energy to heal my leaky gut, let my adrenal fatigue relax, flush out my liver. The energy is because your body only produces so much energy, so much ATP at a time. So this is a missing link for so many people that absolutely need to hear this. If you're dealing with chronic illness and you have some sort of chronic emotional distress, address it.
Address it, for sure. And the easy thing is, good therapy is not hard to go through. Yeah. Good therapists will know how to hold the space really well. Yeah. So you feel safe, you feel seen, and you don't have to rip open your heart and revisit the trauma and making you feel awful. Yeah. I use Gestalt therapy, family constellations, and EMDR. I like those, and I'm going to learn somatic experiencing, but I like these because they help your body really emote and release. So I'd encourage you to look for practitioners who do that sort of work. I also use homeopathy to heal emotional trauma, and that is possible. And that's the beauty of homeopathy. There's remedies like aconite, ignatia. These remedies can be used for shock, for fear, yeah, where the results are a lot of crying or palpitations or withdrawal, yeah, into depression. Yeah. So homeopathy can actually be used to heal trauma from the past. And I do that all the time as well.
Oh, that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on here. And I want to know, is there any other last bits of information that you want to give out to the people listening?
Don't be afraid of homeopathy. So these remedies I was talking about for healing the past traumas, they're in the online course as well. But what I'd like to say is, homeopathy has a lot of negative press as well on the internet. Placebo doesn't really work. There's nothing in there. I would say find a good homeopath. Encourage more and more people to use homeopathy because it really helps alleviate the body from energetic stress, can help you detoxify your body amazingly, can help you release heavy metals as well, and can release emotional stress that you don't even know about. So find a good homeopath and really work on these emotions if you really want to get physically well as well.
And if they want to find you, how do they find you?
So my website is drameet.com, drameet.com. And there's a free online course where you can learn how to heal the gut, the liver. There's a special emotional healing exercise there and how to heal the adrenal glands in very simple ways. And then that goes into the full program where people can get my exact protocols to go deeper into the emotional healing as well as the gut and liver healing.
All right. Well, as I said, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Lots of love, everyone. Ciao.
Thanks for listening. Remember, you can go deeper in your healing with amazing remedies and therapies covered in your free online course and ebook on drameet.com. That's drameet.com. Lots of love and thank you. God bless.